tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Hi, everybody. Guess what? Judge dismisses Trump's Florida classified documents case.
Huh.
It was a bullshit case to begin with. The FBI got caught planting stuff, evidence. The FBI is completely corrupt. The same FBI that lied 17 times to the FISA court so they could get a phone tap on Donald Trump and his entire campaign are the same people that are investigating this. Same people are going to investigate his assassination attempt. The FBI is completely corrupt. I'm also hearing that Donald Trump's speech at the RNC was supposed to be about going and exposing the deep state, and now he switched it to be about unity. I wish it was the old one. So let's get to this case. A judge in Florida has dismissed the case against former President Trump's handling of classified documents. Trump had faced charges stemming from special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into his possession of classified materials at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Now, let's remember that the president could declassify any document he wanted. So the fact that they found some of these documents that were still classified, it just meant that he forgot to unclassify them. That's the way I look at it. And maybe some of them were planted by the FBI because we know they're criminals. Let me turn this down a little. Okay. He pleaded, that's a word, pleaded, not pled. He pleaded not guilty to all 37 felony counts from Smith's probe, including willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and false statements. Former President Trump's motion to dismiss indictment based on the unlawful... So they're saying that when they appointed Jack Smith to be the special prosecutor, that was unlawful and was unconstitutional. It's granted. So she granted it. Judge Aileen Cannon. The superseding indictment is dismissed because special counsel Smith's appointment violates the Appointments Clause of the United States Constitution. I didn't even know there was something like that. Trump, following the ruling, told Fox News' Brett Baier that he was thrilled that the judge had the courage and wisdom to do this. This has big, big implications, not just for the case, but for other cases. The special counsel worked with everyone to try to take me down. This is obvious lawfare. And what lawfare is when you weaponize the justice system to go after a political opponent. That's obviously what this is. All of these cases is that. Trump added from Milwaukee this side of this way. This is a big, big deal. It only makes this convention more positive. This will be an amazing week. They already are booing Mitch McConnell, by the way. I wish I had that video to show you because that was quite a thing. The Appointments Clause says ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States be appointed by the president subject to the advice and consent of the Senate. Although Congress may vest the appointment of inferior officers in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. Smith, however, was never confirmed by the Senate. So it looks like this is one of those appointments that needed to be confirmed with the Congress, and it wasn't. Upon careful study of the foundational challenges raised in the motion, the court is convinced that the special counsel's Smith's prosecution of this action breaches two structural cornerstones of our constitutional scheme: the role of Congress in the appointment of constitutional officers and the role of Congress in authorizing expenditures by law, the judge wrote. The framers gave Congress a pivotal role in the appointment of principal and inferior officers. That role cannot be usurped by the executive branch or diffused elsewhere, whether in this case or in another case, whether in times of heightened national need or not. In the case of inferior officers, that means that Congress is empowered to decide if it wishes to vest appointment powers in the head of the department, and indeed Congress has proven itself quite capable of doing so in many other statutory contexts. But it plainly did not do so here, despite the special counsel's strained statutory readings, the judge added. In the end, it seems the executive's growing comfort in appointing regulatory special counsels in the more recent era has followed an ad hoc pattern with little judicial scrutiny. she also said. Earlier this month, Trump requested a partial pause in the classified documents case brought against him after a U.S. Supreme Court decision found that presidents have substantial immunity for official acts that occur while they were in office. Lawyers for Trump had asked a Florida court. First of all, this is so nuts because if you remember, Comey had found over 100 cases of classified documents on Hillary Clinton's server and her emails. Over 100, hundreds. Yes, 36 I think were high classified. Some of them were just classified. Lawyers for Trump had asked a Florida court to pause all proceedings. So don't quote me on the number, but it was at least 36 highly classified documents. I'll have to go back and check. This is off the top of my head. But they found all those classified documents on Hillary Clinton's server, and nothing happened. And she wasn't even president. Lawyers for Trump had asked a Florida court to pause all proceedings in the case until the judge can apply the Supreme Court's immunity ruling to the facts of the case. Huge news. The Biden Department of Justice classified documents case against Trump is now dismissed. Judge Cannon ruled the special counsel appointment was unconstitutional. This was their strongest Trump case. Rob Reiner says, with Judge Cannon's dismissal of the Trump stolen document case, we're seeing the beginning of the end of rule of law in America. So if they don't like how the justice system turns out.
More than 2,000.
More than 2,000? Highly classified. What was the classification? What does it say?
Emails containing Clinton repeatedly claimed that she did not send or receive any information that was marked classified in her emails. That's false. FBI Director James Comey said more than 2,000 emails contained classified information, and some of them bore markings indicating the presence of classified information. And this is from Fact Check Post, Clinton's handling of classified info.
Okay. So, again, these are the people who say democracy, democracy, the rule of law, and then when they don't like the way the rule of law turns out, this is a judge making a ruling on the Constitution, and if they don't like it, they say, we don't have the rule of law. This is exactly what the rule of law is. It would be not the rule of law if Joe Biden just threw Trump in prison without a trial. That would not be the rule. This is actually the definition of the rule of law. These people are mental. So they call themselves liberal, but they're not liberals. Liberals, this is illiberal. So I have a hard time calling people like Keith Olbermann, the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, Rob Reiner. I have a hard time calling those people lefties or liberals because they're not acting like liberals are. Classic liberals are liberals. My whole life have been taught to believe what liberalism is. But now these are the people giving liberalism a bad name because they turn out to be authoritarian maniacs. Just in, Barbara McQuaid explodes on MSNBC, says Judge Aileen Cannon dismissing Trump's classified document. I guess we have this here, right?
Well, look, I think it's a terrible decision. I think it's absolutely wrong on the merits. But going forward, I think this could actually be a blessing in disguise because it gives Jack Smith an opportunity to appeal the case immediately. So many of these other decisions were within the judge's discretion as she was slow walking the case. But this is one where it's immediately appealable. And I think she is so clearly wrong on the law that the 11th Circuit will reverse. Now, Donald Trump probably goes to the Supreme Court and we have to wait for a decision there. But even if ultimately the Supreme Court rules in favor of Donald Trump, the case is not over. All that means is a special counsel can't bring this case. There is nothing then to stop the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida from bringing this case. Now, certainly it means lengthy delay. There will be no trial before the election, but I think we were headed in that direction anyway. By making this decision, now Jack Smith sees the legal landscape and can act strategically the way he wants to. He could even decide the Justice Department to take this out of the special counsel's hands and go directly to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida, refile the case immediately and get back on track, perhaps with a different judge.
And so, Barbara, what would immediately look like?
Go to a grand jury, represent the case in front of a grand jury. I don't think immediately means the case gets refiled tomorrow. You would have to present the case to a new grand jury. But when you're republishing, it doesn't require you to bring in new witnesses. It just requires a summary witness to testify about what all of those witnesses said. So I think the case could get reindicted within a couple of weeks if they decided to go that route. Immediate appeal, that means today the appeal could be filed, a notice of appeal could be filed today.
So these people just aren't going to stop, I guess. So they're just going to keep doing it. The people who claim to care about the rule of law. So we now just, so now we're just, so now what's going to happen is this Republicans who are attorney generals, are they going to just start filing cases against Barack Obama for his extrajudicial killing of American citizens? Because he did that. Are they going to just start filing cases against Hillary Clinton now for all those classified documents that she had on her server? Because she did that. So that's what's turning, this is what's actually turning us into a banana republic. These prosecutions, not Donald Trump. And again, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. Didn't vote for him. Didn't vote for Joe Biden either. I voted for the moronic Green Party, which was a real disappointment to me. Keith Olbermann says President Biden should take the Supreme Court of the United States cloaking mask of immunity and have Merrick Garland arrest that judge. If they need to make up a charge, haul her in for impersonating a judge. Hey, nothing like saving democracy by imprisoning judges who rule against you. Boy, did he get ratioed on that. 25,000. But these are all just... These are people who are morons, who are blinded with hatred for Trump, who lives in their own shadow. Keith Olbermann is a more disgusting pig than anything he could ever say Donald Trump is. He demeans women when he doesn't like their politics. You see what he did to Riley Gaines? He says he wants to throw judges in prison without a charge. Just make one up because I don't like the way she ruled. Yes, nothing like saving democracy by imprisoning judges who rule against you. Okay, so all these what I try to tell when I report cases like this, people accuse me of being a Trumper because they're propagandized and stupid. And they're uninformed. And so what this means is if they can do this to Donald Trump, a former president of the United States, they can do this to anybody, and they will. They will. That's probably why Bernie Sanders rolled over in 2016. They threatened to prosecute him or prosecute his wife because he completely capitulated and rolled over. And now he's a warmongering maniac. He's the opposite of who he's supposed to be. He supports a corporatist like Joe Biden and an authoritarian sense. He's for all that stuff. So, of course, they do this. They do this to Cornel West. They do this to Jill Stein. They do this to anybody who would stand up and be a problem for the establishment. Now they criminalize you. Look what they did to the black Uhurus, the socialists. Look what they did to Stop Cop City. The same RICO statute and the same grand jury that used to indict Stop Cop City protesters, the people protesting the expansion of the police state, they used to indict Donald Trump. And people like Cornel West don't have the integrity to call that out. They don't have the courage. That's gutless when they don't call that out. It's easy to call it out when it helps you politically, but when it doesn't, that takes real courage. Okay, over to Steph.
All right, thank you. Alex Jones said he predicts Trump is going to be killed on Tim Dillon's show. Do you think they would try it again? Oh, so he says it on Tim Dillon's show. All right, Kate Cotwes,
Okay.
the weird world that we're existing in. And Jimmy, what do you think Young would say about all this? Do you think mythic patterns run deeper than surface reality? Kate Cotwes, thank you. Back to Jimmy.
Wow.
7th? Actually, that's wrong. Before October 7th, Israeli security forces killed 248 Palestinians, and 40 of them were children, and that was just this year. And if you want to go back further than that, we can look at the recent history of war crimes committed by the Israeli government. Operation Protective Edge in 2014, Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012, Operation Cast Lead in 2009.
What started each one of those operations? Islamic barrages of rockets into civilian centers in Israel. That's what started each one of these operations. I love this moron. I guess the idea here is that if you point out that what has caused the current conflict is the massacre of 1,500 Jews, like, well, before that, Israel killed other Palestinians. You're like, yeah, but why would they do that? And the answer is because they were associated with terrorist groups. And he's like, yeah, but what about the conflict before? Oh, you mean because the terrorists were firing rockets into Israel? It's an infinite regress of dumb here. Just name a bunch of operations without actually explaining why the operations were initiated.
Yeah, but you don't mention why Cast Lead happened. Hamas fired rockets into Israel. And that was because Israel broke the ceasefire agreement they had on November 4th, 2008, while the entire world was in euphoria over the United States electing its first black president, Barack Obama. Israel used the opportunity to break the ceasefire agreement and raid Gaza and kill Palestinians.
For no reason, they're just raiding Gaza, just for fun. They just raid Gaza. To do what exactly? To steal their nothing? What would the raid entail? What would be the purpose of such a raid? Can you explain? Like, what are the great valuable jewels being held in Gaza that the Israelis desperately need to get their hands on? Israel so desperately wanted not to be in Gaza that they surrendered the place to a fucking terrorist group for 20 years, who then spent every last dime building rockets and terror tunnels so as to murder 1,500 Jews. One thing that I've noticed, they keep saying they're running out of power, they're running out of fuel, they're running out of water. The thing they haven't been running out of? Rockets.
Well, you're leaving out a lot of context. You gotta go back further than that. To 1967? Yeah, let's go back to 1967, when Israel started a preemptive war.
Egypt was mobilizing its air force.
Syria and Jordan.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit MSNBC.
They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, you know, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, you know, the babies that have been murdered, you know, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us, but past that to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, you know, money poor people. You know, this government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But you know, something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. You know, we don't really know what war is. You know, for black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, you know, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison, but they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, you know, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, you know, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators, and they're going to have riots on their hands. You know, they're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. You know, we have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating, you know, what we need, what needs to be done. And, you know, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. I mean, you know, don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, you know, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, you know, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, you know, this system and those backing the officials running the system, you know, want people to believe that revolution means violence, you know, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us
accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it, then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just move babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, you know, making a quick buck, you know. I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, you know, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, you know, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. You know, how long are people going to sit back and beg, you know, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years all you've gotten is a slap in the face? All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.